Hello and welcome to the Dublin Arsenal podcast. I'm your host, as always, Jonathan Giles. On the show this week, we'll be reviewing our upcoming Premier League fixture against Everton this Sunday at 4:30 in the company of loyal Everton fan Ritchie White. How are you, Ritchie?
I'm great, thanks, Jonathan.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
By the way, to our listeners, Ritchie's our biggest fan. So, non-Arsenal is...
Number one fan, yeah.
So hopefully this webcam keeps hold for the night. Also on the show, we'll be looking at players who played for both sides, and we look back at the first four Premier League games for both teams as well. So sit back and enjoy the show. On the show this week, I'm joined by my regular guests and loyal Arsenal fans, John Neely. How are you, John?
Not too bad, Johnny. Glad to be back.
Thanks for coming back from another long sabbatical. We hope to have you on before the end of the season. If he comes out alive from the North London Derby, that is, next week. And also I'm joined by Matt Bourne. How are you, Matt?
How you doing, mate? Are you well?
Good to have you back on, pal.
Cheers, thanks, man.
You're in the good company of Jamie Carragher there, I noticed there.
I was, yeah. Him and Didi Haman passed me by in a bar, so I just had to go up and say hello. So that was it, as you do, with a few drinks on you. I took no pleasure in it, John. Don't worry, I took no pleasure at all.
When I saw the picture, Matt, I was saying to myself, spot a celebrity. I didn't know who.
Well, yeah, I was wearing a nice Bosch shirt, so I looked the part,
I remember Eamon complimenting you on that there the other night. Well, it's good to have you back on, Matt. Audience are having a good summer. And also, as I said earlier on in our intro, I'm also joined by Ritchie White, loyal Everton fan from over here as well. So welcome along, Ritchie.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being such a loyal listener as well.
Yeah, great show, lads. Love it.
There you go, lads. See, there is one person out there tonight.
I collect my money afterwards, Jonathan. Yeah.
I think we've got about a fiver in the kitty, Ricky, so you're welcome to buy €5 hamburgers if you want a mac and cheese. So we start off with the show, I suppose, in the latest bit of transfer business that was wrapped up on Saturday. Nicholas Pepe, a £72 million signing from Lille in 2019. He made 112 appearances, scored 27 goals in his time at Arsenal. The 28-year-old joins the Turkish side, Trabzonspor, on a free. Sadly, it just didn't work out. It was one of those transfers that the price tag weighed very heavily on him, and sadly we lost him on a free transfer. But I'll go to you, John. Are you happy enough to see Nicholas Pepe? It didn't work out, but are you happy enough?
It never really worked out, and he was signed when he was signed for the amount of money. Lille and his agent must have thought all their Christmases had come at once when they were dealing with our chief executive at the time to get 72 million for him, when I think, from what I read at the time, you could have got him at the end of May, early June for around 30. I know he had a really... No, this is serious. I mean, I think this transfer led to Sanley losing his job because it was way, way overpriced.
Yeah.
I think he was a very talented player, but unfortunately, he never fitted into what Emery wanted to do, and he never fitted into what Arteta wanted to do. So it was really bad scouting, bad signing. And the chief executive who signed him deserved to lose his job over it. And I feel sorry for him because I think he's a really talented guy. And if he got to the right club, who knows what he could have done. But the money he was on was the big stumbling block between us getting a transfer fee. I wish him the best. I wish him the very best. I hope he finds some kind of form. But he had to leave. He had no future at Arsenal. Just didn't.
Yes. It's just sad that we lost 72 million. We didn't recoup anything from him. That's probably the most disappointing. But to get his contract off the budget as well is probably the only positive thing. Matt, what do you make of the whole Nicholas Pepe? Are you happy that he's moved on now and that's the end of that?
I suppose for him that he's moved on. You know, when you look at his stats, were a lot better than a lot of very, very big name players in the Premier League. You know, he never really got the chance to shine when you're number 2 to Bukayo Saka, who never gets injured. You know, hopefully I don't curse him there, but you know, it's very, very difficult. But his stats were not bad in the scheme of it. I don't think, you know, look, players don't make transfer fees either. You know, that's made by the agents and the clubs and everything else. So, you know, living up to his expectations, you know, even look at Declan Rice, who's been fantastic for the last few games, obviously, but he didn't set the price, you know, and we went and decided to pay the price. And, you know, it's sad that, you know, he cost 72 million and we got nothing back. We're fans. What does it matter to us? It matters to Stan Kroenke, you know. He's losing the money. Doesn't matter to us. You know, Arsenal spent big money this summer, which is great. Knowing that they probably weren't going to get a penny for recoup a penny of the 72 million. So I don't know why we should care, you know. But look, I wish him the best. You know, there was definitely a player in there. I believe he had a few incredibly good performances. Scored some cracker goals, absolutely cracker goals. But he was never going to take Saka's place away from him. Never. And I said this on a podcast earlier on, you know, any player, I think I was on with Craig one night, and he was talking about a few different options to back up Saka. Saka doesn't get injured. And who's going to come in? Who are you going to sign for 50 million or 60 million to back up Saka? No player is going to come in and go, oh yeah, I'll play back up to Saka. Not at all. No. You know, I think I think we have great options up front. You know, you can Martinelli can switch to the Saka side if need be. You've got Trossard and Emile Smith-Rowe waiting to step into his position. Plenty of options. But listen, Pepe, best of luck to him. I hope he gets his career back on track and everything works out.
Yeah, the Turkish league seems to be where most of them go to reset their career, you could say. I know, and best of luck to him. Probably the best goal that I remember him in an Arsenal shirt was the end of the 2021 season against West Brom Albion. I think it was still behind closed doors. That was a screamer. I suppose most of his other goals came in the Europa League and the League Cup and all. But yeah, look, we can only wish him the best. You know, he's 28 years old, so he still has the best years ahead of him, hopefully, you know, and looking forward, it didn't work out, and that's another one gone off our books. So we go on to we move on swiftly, I suppose, onto our preview of the Everton game, which is live on Sky Sports at 4:30 on Sunday. Our last meeting, myself and John actually done this one to review this back in March, 1st of March. We won 4-0. Saka scored a screamer. The first goal, Martinelli twice, and Odegaard. I see Ritchie there in tears there. I hate bringing it up, Ritchie. But we're at Goodison Park for this one, and this is always a tough ground, I think, to go to. It's one of those old school grounds where the fans nearly are on top of you at a throw in. Reminds me kind of a bit like Highbury, you know, one of those very old school grounds still there. Yeah. Our last meeting was in February. I think it was Sean Dyche's first game actually in charge. James Tarkovsky, one of his old boys from Burnley, got a towering header. I know Eamon Donnelly said the pitch was a disgrace, but it got 3 vital points for Everton, so they didn't care. And of course, the previous meeting was back in December of 21. We went 1-0 up, and that came through Odegaard, but Richarlison in the 80 minute, and then a screamer from the now departed Damari Gray, who's gone to the riches of Saudi Arabia. But I think this is going to be a very tough game away. I don't want to come to you, Richie. You're a loyal Everton fan, and I appreciate you coming onto the show. How do you see the game going yourself on Sunday?
It's quite a hard one to sort of, I suppose, pick apart, because having looked at us at the start of the season, look, we've 4 games and we've only taken a point, and that was in the last game. But it's not as if we're not creating chances. We're creating chances. If we were in the situation where I just couldn't see a goal coming from anywhere, like as in from chance wise, then I'd be quite worried. But they seem to be eking out, scoring chances. It's the same old Achilles heel that we have. We can't finish. We just cannot finish our chances. Danjuma and the new fella Beto, When I watched them there last week, obviously against the Blades, and there was probably a little bit of cause for a little bit of hope there, because I thought Beto played brilliantly actually. Danjuma was okay as well, but he just his first touch seems to kind of let him down a lot. But there's shoots of hope there, you know. Beto, I think he's got that old school kind of big number 9, strong, you know, he's able to hold up the ball, but he also has like a serious injection of speed there as well, you know. He almost was too quick for a lot of, like, for Danjuma a lot of the time last week. But, you know, taking that as well, going back then, we've still got the same old frailties at the back. It's like they switch off in games, just especially after they've scored, or, you know.
Yeah.
It's just situations like that, or at the start of a second half, or at the end of the first half, they just switch off, and it's kind of schoolboy error stuff, you know. I don't know. Is the serious answer, like, I know that the crowd will be up for it, and once the Goodison crowd, like, once they're with you, there's no better crowd. Once they're against you, you're seriously up against it, and players go hiding on that pitch if they're not playing to what is perceived the standard from the crowd, you know. But I would probably sort of, if I had to give a prediction, I would probably sort of say maybe a tough fought 2-1 win for the Gooners, probably.
Yeah, it's not a bad show, but I wouldn't rule ourselves out neither, Rich, you know. I think after the international break, you always see teams a bit rejuvenated, you know. In terms of your other transfer business, Richie, you've brought in Ashley Young as a free agent. He was with Villa there last year. Danjuma looks really top. He scored a great goal. Jack Harrison, I think, is another steal on loan from Leeds, and Beto said looks a really good player. And in terms of your outs, Damari Gray left there yesterday for Saudi Arabia. Iwobi went. Fulham. And Mopey went on loan to Brentford. I'm just looking at your
fixtures. Bye-bye, Mopey. Bye-bye. Don't come back. Do not come back. Ever.
Yeah. He just didn't seem to... No. He just didn't fit in, did he?
Not. Just unfortunately, like, you know, I to be honest, I kind of felt sorry for him, because a lot of the fans were on his back, but he just couldn't fit in, and it just... No, it didn't work. It didn't work for me, and... I wish him well wherever he's gone, but
yeah. Adios.
Yeah.
With the new stadium being built there in Bramley Dock as well, it's exciting times for an Everton fan, you know. Can you see Sean Dyche being a long-term manager there, or do you see?
Yeah, like I'd really hope that Sean Dyche kind of stays with us, because I think, in fairness, you know, he's been given a from a squad point of view and a talent point of view, he's been really given a sort of a difficult project to do, to say the least. But like, he does have that sort of, you know, obviously has the experience. He has that you know, that grit and determination to kind of get everything out of a player, you know. Like, you're not going to be sort of resting on your laurels if he's your gaffer, you know. Regards to the new stadium, yeah, absolutely. Be very sad to see the old lady go, but you know, obviously every club, if they're worth their sort of weight in gold, they have to kind of move on and progress. The worry I have with Bramley Dock is, can we afford it? And is it going to be a great white elephant in the Championship next year?
Yeah, it's always a worry, yeah. And I know Coventry City done similar with the Rico Arena, didn't they? And that's ended yet. I think you've been very unfortunate with injuries in terms of Seamus Coleman and Dominic Calvert-Lewin. You know, with such a small squad, and when you miss big players, you really do struggle. But as you said, Sean Dyche, he's given them that bit of grit that he was with Burnley, hasn't he? You can see that he gets it together,
like what did you have before that? You had the likes of Frank Lampard,
Yeah.
Like you got the impression with Frank Lampard that he was their kind of buddies rather than their gaffer,
Yeah.
He was, yeah, and he was, sucking up to Seamus Coleman and really sort of trying to win the fans on side, but that's not going to, get you results.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, look, it didn't work out for Frank. I know he obviously, we had that win against Crystal Palace that, kept us up 3-2. We were 2-0 down at half time. I thought that was bye-bye. But in fairness, it was just one of those nights under the lights at Goodison that it just turned on a sixpence. And to be honest, we were blessed to get out of jail that year. And I sort of said after that, I said, I think next year is going to be it's going to be our year when we get finally relegated. And I was proved wrong, thankfully, on the last day of the season. But it can't go on, and you can only sort of flirt with death so much, and it'll finally get you. So look, hoping to see sort of shoots of hope and progression over the next couple of weeks, but. We don't know. We'll see. But I am impressed so far. I know it's like he literally, your man Beto only came over. He only arrived in Liverpool the day before the Blades game.
Yeah.
So he came on and but he just looked like, I don't think Dyche wasn't even going to play him, and then he just decided to play him. And he looks up for it. Like yeah.
Yeah, Beto and Danjuma, they're down to terrorised defences, I think. Yeah. And after the Arsenal game, Richie, you've got Brentford away after that, which is tricky enough. You probably take a draw there, but their next two games are at home. They're against Luton and Bournemouth. So, like, you'd nearly be thinking, Luton look like the whipping boys, even no disrespect. And Bournemouth, you could be looking at potentially 4 points, could you,
Yeah, look, I mean, like they have to be sort of, like, I know it's, we're 4 games in.
Yeah.
But like even with the game we played against Wolves at home, like even though that was only 3 games in, people were talking about like what a crucial 6-pointer it was, and it was like that's just the unfortunate realities of following Everton, like
Yeah.
But like I think they have to be like Dyche and the boys have to be sort of like aiming for at least 4 points, if not more, out of those 2 games, Bournemouth and Luton, certainly,
Yeah, there's always terrific support there. It's one of those intimidating grounds, when they're an away team, you really feel it, as I was saying, our last 2 visits has ended in defeat, lads, and I know going even a bit back further to Freddie Youngberg when he's in interim manager, we only drew 0-0. That's when Duncan Ferguson was in caretaker charge. So we've always found everything a tricky ground. And the force coming back after the international break can be 50-50 as well, in terms of tiredness and injuries being picked up from the qualification matches. So, the force coming back is kind of like the first day of the season. You don't know what you're going to get. John, how do you see this game going? Always a tough game at Goodison Park, isn't it?
Always a tough game. I was actually reading up. We haven't won there since 2018.
Wow.
So it seems like a long, long time ago. Dyche is he seems to know how to set up teams against. We never had easy games when he was in charge of opponent. I expect a very physical game from Everton. They'll try to ruffle their feathers. As you said, Eamon last season was hugely critical of the pitch. I don't see anything different happening this weekend. As Richie was saying, that new striker made a very good first impression. Only, 20, 25 minutes or so against Sheffield United, but he made a very, very good first impression. He seems very fast, very strong, not afraid of the physical side of the game. So if Everton get anything to him, he could prove a bit of a test for Saliba and Gabriel. But I think if we play our game and control the game the way we should control the game, we should win it. But then I said exactly the same thing when we went to Goodison Park last year. And we didn't do it. So we have to play our game. If we don't play our game, then you're going to give Everton something to hang on to, something to fight for. And as Ricky said, if that Goodison crowd smells blood, they'll get behind that team, and then you're in for a hard time. So we have to play our game. We have to be at the top of our game, and we have to show a ruthless side, which we haven't shown yet. We haven't kicked into
no
top tier yet. At the very least, we're maybe 7 out of 10 for the start of the season. I think we're controlling games without creating a lot of chances, and we do have a little bit of vulnerability at the back, especially on the break. I mean, we got away from jail with United a little bit, but we deserve to win that game.
Yeah.
So I just think we need to focus on our own game, turn up fully knowing what we're walking into, because last year it looked like we didn't know what we were walking into.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's the wake-up call, and that'll be Arteta's rallying cry. He says, remember coming here last year? Be on your toes, be aware what you have to fight for, be aware of what they're going to bring to the game, and don't give them stick. If you get on top, stay on top. I'd love to see, Ricky said a 2-1 win. I'll take it. Give it to me now and move on next week. I'm really expecting a tough physical battle against them. I really am. But I think if we play our game, we win. But as I say, Everton have a habit of making things tough a little bit there. So I don't expect it to be easy.
I think Richie will agree with me here as well before I move on to Matt. I think set piece wise, definitely from corners and free kicks, you would worry me in terms of, your physicality, but as well as that, your height. You can see very much the Burnley side, he works very hard on set pieces.
Yeah.
I thought the double save from Jordan Pickford, the Sheffield United game was just incredible.
Yeah,
he can have moments, can't he, Pickford, where he can be world class, and then he can just have those wobbly moments,
That's picked, like, that's the sort of, with the genius, you take the joker out of it, because and he gets some awful stick, but I'll tell you one thing, I can guarantee you, if we hadn't had Jordan Pickford for the last 2-3 seasons, we would not be in the Premiership. Simple as that. We just wouldn't.
Yeah, and that's a big compliment to pay. Yeah, he is the last line of defence in every word, isn't he? Yeah. Matt, this is going to be, as I said to John and Richie, it's always tough going to Goodison Park over the years. How do you see the game going yourself? Very similar in February?
Yeah, it's been horrible. Yeah, Goodison Park has been an absolute nightmare for us the last few years, obviously, as we all know. Look, if we're on, like John said, I don't know how much more I can add, because like John said, if we're on our game, we will win comfortably. And we should be beating Everton comfortably. No disrespect to Everton, we should be beating them comfortably. They, we're talking about Luton being the whipping boys this year. I mean, Everton have been the whipping boys for the last few years, and they've survived by the skin of their, barely survived 3 seasons in a row. And I fear for them, look, they'll probably go out and beat us 1-0 on Sunday, as they, for whatever reason. But I fear for them because that luck is going to run out at some stage unless something drastic happens. And the new, like John said, the new guy that came in, and you were saying yourself, Richie, looks very, very promising. A lot of speed, a lot of skill, and I hope he turns it around for you. But I fear for Everton that they'll run out of steam, and if they do run out of steam and get relegated this year, it's going to be very, very tough coming back. They'll have the new stadium. I'm sure, I don't know what the capacity is going to be, the new stadium. Do you know yourself?
I think it's 52.
52. Yeah.
It's not bad.
But it's going to be very, very difficult to maintain that stadium in the Championship. No European football or anything else. So look, I wish you nothing but the best. I know a lot of Everton fans. If I could pick out a team in the Premier League that I have absolutely no qualms with, it would be Everton. And I've qualms with a lot of teams in the Premier League.
The one thing that we do have in common, lads, is that we're both the 2 top teams, longest standing in top flight football. So
at
least we get
Barely, yeah. I know.
Until next year for us. But anyway.
Look, I hope you have a half decent season apart from 2 games that you're playing against us. And look, I can't see anything but an Arsenal win. I think we have to be on our game. We have to believe that we can beat Everton. Most teams believe they can beat Everton, you know, and for whatever reason, it's just this mental block. We go to Goodison Park, we get beaten 1-0, we get beaten 2-1, whatever, and we get them to the Emirates and we destroy them, you know. So we shouldn't be thinking any differently going to Goodison Park. They're definitely vulnerable, and we should be beating them comfortably. But look, you can never predict this one, unfortunately. You know, we've had that against a few teams over the years. We had Bolton for a few years where we couldn't get near them for whatever reason, and you're always going to have these teams that you just can't get past. And Everton is definitely one of them. But look, I'm relatively confident of a win. It's going to be fairly tight and possibly, like Richie said, possibly 2-1.
Yeah, if it is going to be won or lost, I would fear set pieces like in February. You know, I think Everton are really good on set pieces. You know, I'd probably, if I'm being honest with you, I know we have Jesus back as well, and you know our team is a lot stronger than Everton. But I don't know. I just have a feeling about it could be a draw. You know, I just have that. You know, it's them for all 40 games, and the force came back after the international break. But yeah, I think being honest with you, I think I'd probably go for a draw. We move on, sorry, to players that played for both sides. Talked about that this into the podcast this week. A few players I'll run down. Kevin Richardson is one that played for both Arsenal and Everton. Anders Limpar, the brilliant winger. Francis Jeffers, Fox in the Box. I think we all know. Richard Wright was going to be a future England #1, but that cracker sure scored against him at St James's. But put that and. Kevin Campbell done really well for both teams, definitely for Everton. I remember he scored at Anfield in '99, and it took right up to 2 years ago for Richarlison, wasn't it, to get the next winner and go. Martin Keown, hard as nails, defender, played for both teams. Stephen Hughes, that's
Stephen Hughes.
He's now AFTV. His career went downhill, but he played for Everton. Philippe Senderos.
Yeah, Senderos.
Yeah. Theo Walcott.
You'd forget the half them, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Mikel Arteta.
Senderos was always sort of liable for a blooper, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. he always was bit adventurous, you could say. Alex Iwobi, who left Everton there to go to Fulham, but he. I'll come to you, Richie. Who would you mean your standout players that played for you from the Gunners?
Definitely super Kevin Campbell. I was just sort of saying earlier on that, like, when he joined us, I think he joined us in '99, and it was kind of initially on a loan, but he got like 8 goals in his first 7 appearances, and that was like literally at the end of the season, which literally saved our bacon that year. Like, here we are, Everton, talking about another year where we were saved, you know. Yeah, there's been a lot of them, but no, Kevin Campbell, absolute standout. And I think he was kind of, his career was kind of stagnating at the time, and he'd been over to Turkey, I think it was. I'm not too sure if it was Galatasaray or who he was with, but I think there was some sort of, he wasn't happy there, and there was some sort of allegations of racism or whatever. So he came back and he came in alone to us. But like, he even says now, because he's a big speaker at Goodison Park on match days and all that kind of stuff. But he fell in love with Everton, and obviously the fans fell in love with him. And you know, I've been to many's a game at Goodison where you know, he'll still go down and watch the Toffees, and there'll be shouts of super Kevin Campbell all the way down. And so, like, you know, he's never really kind of fallen out of love with the Toffees. But yeah, definitely #1 for me, Super Kev. And then obviously couldn't go without mentioning Mikel Arteta. So I have a big soft spot for Arteta. Also liked, you know, the likes, I was mentioned as well, Alex Iwobi, more recent.
Yeah.
When he came first, I was sort of hemming and hawing a bit, because again, it kind of looked as if Iwobi's kind of career was stagnating and maybe not progressing to its full benefit. But when he came to Everton at the start, he took a while to find his way. But the last couple of seasons, I think he's been outstanding for Everton, and just absolute unbelievable work rate. The guy just doesn't stop on the fit, and he'll try to the very, very end. You know, people will say maybe he has limited ability skill-wise, but you know, a lot of the time, half the battle is getting these guys to play on the pitch in the first place. You know, that's it. Martin Keown as well would have been one of my favourites from sort of early '90s. You know, yeah, real hard defender. And I was quite gutted when he left to go to the Gooners. But yeah, he'd be another kind of a stalwart at the time. The ones that I wouldn't be so happy with maybe would be the likes of Franny Jeffers. I never really. Franny wouldn't be a big fan of Franny's, and Theo Walcott. I was disappointed with Theo when he came to Everton. I thought we'd get a lot more out of him.
Yeah.
So did Everton.
Yeah. It just never. It was almost like he just never clicked. There was the odd game where he'd get a goal and you think, okay, it's going to change now. It's definitely going to change. And then you see in the next game, just look lethargic and kind of almost that he's just there to pick up a check, you know, and just didn't work out in the end.
Yeah, John, he mentioned himself, Franny, the fox in the box, Jeffers. We paid a big price for him, and to say the least, he's going coaching now in Saudi Arabia. That's how, for his career, he's gone to the riches of the Saudi wars. Who stood out for you for players that played for both teams? We went to Kevin Richardson at the start, which was a good shout.
Yeah, he was a big part of that team that won the league in '89.
Yeah.
Almost like the final piece of the jigsaw that George Graham put together. I actually remember that great Everton team from the '80s, and he was a big part of that. And I was amazed when he left to go to what?
Yeah, I know.
And I remember being as a teenager thinking, why isn't someone bigger picking him up? It was gobsmacked. And when George picked him up, I think it was only like £250,000 at the time, which is not a lot of money in the transfer business now. It wasn't that big back then. It was delighted when we got him. And
that's 150 million in today's money, John.
So we got 2 or 3 absolutely fantastic years out of Kevin Richardson. So they were brilliant. And I know Eamon's not here tonight, so it'd be wrong for me not to throw something a little bit older in, like Trevor Ross and Alan Ball from the 70s.
Alan Ball, yeah, brilliant.
Alan Ball, who was an English national hero for being part of the '66 World Cup, counter Arsenal after we won the double, and Trevor Ross played midfield in the 70s as well. Okay, that's a little bit before my time, but I'll throw them in because I know Eamon would not shut up about Alan Ball if you kept me chance. But Kevin Richardson, obviously the one that stands out, and the Martin Keown one, because he actually started his career at Arsenal, and he left over a wage dispute with George Graham, and went to Villa. Everton snapped him up. And then George paid, I think, an absolute huge sum for the centre half the time, over 2 million.
Get it back.
And I think the wage dispute was something like 50 quid a week or something. So I was delighted when we signed him back, and we got 10 outstanding years from him. I loved him. I just say, hard as nails defender. So they're the two that would stand out for me. On the other hand, you sold us Jeffers. Now, I know you can say we got even because we gave you Richard Roy and we gave you Theo Walcott. Not just Jeff. As you say, that signing was from left field. I don't think any Arsenal fans saw it coming. But I guarantee you there was a queue around the box to drive him out of the club when that opportunity came, because it just never, ever worked. So, as I said, I think we've signed some really good players, including Mickey Arteta. But you did sting us with Francis Jeffers.
Yeah.
Actually, in that transfer window as well, Richard Wright was signed as well in that transfer window. Yeah, so there was a couple of bogey ones there. Ash, who stood out for you in that list of players? Anders Limpar is one that sticks out. He was quite good, wasn't he?
Well, you took the words out of my mouth, because Anders Limpar, when I first I first went to Highbury in 1989, and you know, I was there. I think that my first game was 2 days before we went to Anfield and won the league, or 2 games before we went to Anfield and won the league. We lost 2-1 to Derby, and being a kid in the North Bank, looking at your first game and losing, you were just waiting for a couple of the nice big names to come in and all that stuff, you know. And I remember Anders Limpar came in. I think it was 91, thereabouts, 1991.
Yeah.
Someone on 1990. Someone on 1990.
Yeah. And I was there in Highbury when we won the league in 92.
91.
On a few occasions. And Limpar, 91. Sorry, John. And, I had the pleasure of seeing him play on a few occasions. He was unbelievable, Limpar. He was absolutely brilliant. He would be the standout player for me. Kevin Campbell as well was phenomenal for us. You know, I think he gave his best years to Everton, but he certainly was a very, very good player for us. He played with a lot of with the likes of Ian Wright and David Rocastle and the like. So he got a good schooling as well with them. But on Francis Jeffers, I had the pleasure of seeing him in the Charity Shield in Wales when it was briefly in Cardiff, and it was the hottest day of the year, and he decided to kill somebody on the pitch and get sent off. And you know, I didn't like him up till then. I didn't like him after then. He was absolutely terrible. How Everton ever swindled us out of that, I'll never know. But they did, and fair play to them. They managed to pull the wool over our eyes somehow, you know.
Yeah.
But definitely, look, let's not forget about Mikel. Mikel came to us in I think it was a January transfer window. Am I right? Lastminute.com.
Was that mad panic?
It was the last minute panic buy at the time.
Yeah,
it was a last minute panic buy. A lot of players were skeptical of him, you know, or a lot of people were skeptical of him when he came in because he was a panic buy. He was last minute. But look, we've seen what Mikel is. Arsenal true and true. He's got Arsenal in his heart. I saw a little clip there during the week of Pep Guardiola talking about him whenever City had scored a goal. Arteta be up and jumping around the pitch and hugging everybody, and apart from against one team, and that was Arsenal, because you know he just absolutely loves Arsenal. You gave us a guy there who has come in and he's kind of changed the face of the club now. Hopefully he can go all the way and make a real name for himself. Get us a Premier League or a Champions League, or Jesus, just give us an FA Cup for now. Anything at all. But look, good tradition between the clubs. It will be as well. He did perform very well for Everton for a couple of years. He was always just that bit short, though. He just seemed like he had so much potential. Like, you know, I think that's when Arsenal got rid of him. He was showing that bit of potential, but he never quite hit the heights he could have hit. You know, you see that with an awful lot of players. Iwobi went to Everton and performed a bit. Walcott went to Everton and didn't perform. You know, you do see it with a lot of players like that. But nice little tradition between the two. We won't be saying the same about Tottenham next week. You know?
Any Tottenham fans listening, it could be less than half an hour show on this one. To be some abuse being given, but sure, it's all in good fun. Since we have you on, Richie, and being Everton and Arsenal at the weekend, what's your favourite memories of playing Arsenal? Have you got a standout match that you liked?
You know what I'm going to say here, don't you? Surely you do. Wayne Rooney's goal against yourselves.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that would be. Now, in fairness, I hadn't even thought about that, but just when you asked me, I said, well, there is only one. Yeah. No, that was just phenomenal in the moment, and for a kid like that to introduce themselves onto the kind of world stage was just breathtaking, you know. But that'd be my moment, and probably just having had the privilege of watching Rooney in the flesh over at Goodison Park in in games like that. I wasn't actually at that game, but for that season and the following season, I was over and just saw them just tear teams apart, and it was to be able to witness it in the flesh was just breathtaking, you know. But yeah, that'd be definitely the outstanding one for me. Yeah, the one that stands out. Yeah.
Hence why
two of my favourite games as well would have been against Everton. So in 98 and 2002.
4-0.
Yeah, and that fantastic Tony Adams goal.
Tony Adams, yeah.
Oh, amazing. We used to believe that when we play Everton in the last day of the season, we win the league.
Exactly.
And we're playing in the last game of this season, so let's. But we played it a few times in between, and nothing's happened. So but let's keep going with that anyway. You know.
It's either Arsenal win the league on the last day or Everton stay up on the last day. That's normally the way it's scripted, isn't it?
Yeah.
A good few Irish players played for Everton as well, Richie, since I have you on. You would have been our standout Irish player that played for the Blues or the Toffees.
Of all time.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, we are standout Irish players.
Well, my hero, my idol when I grew up was Kevin Sheedy. So
yeah, what a player.
So yeah, I mean, like, and like Sheedy, although I'd never claimed to be anything like him, I'm left-footed as well. So you know, when I was a kid, I was always practicing Kevin Sheedy free kicks and the like, and reenacting the equaliser against the English in 1990 and all that kind of stuff. But now Kevin Sheedy was like as an Everton and an Irish player, definitely would have been heads and shoulders above the rest for me. Yeah.
Yeah, you see good few Irish flags dotted around Goodison Park as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot. There's a big Irish kind of following, and you know that had just sort of come from, like, I would have started following Everton in sort of mid '80s, and I kind of, my first game was '88, but you have all the previous generations, like guys who are sort of maybe 20 years older than me, or sort of 20, 30 years older than me, that have been going over for years as well, because there's always been that. Obviously, Liverpool is a city anyway with Irish, but no, there is a good tradition, a good Irish tradition there, and you'll always spot the Irish flags there in Goodison. Yeah,
it's nice. It's nice to see it when you see it on TV. Yeah. I remember when we were in the Mercantile, lads, Everton had a spot in there as well. I don't know where it is now, Richie. Do you have anywhere in town now?
To be honest, because at the time when they were in the Mercantile, I think it was the Irish Toffees that were in there at that stage. Right. Okay. And I actually I would go up to the Mercantile because I knew, obviously I know Eamon, and I knew you guys would be up there as well. So I'd go up there at the odd time as well, and I think one had one bar and the other had the other side of the bar. I ended up joining kind of the Irish Toffees, but I think the reason I kind of signed up to it at the time was they were having a sort of an evening with Kevin Sheedy the following week, so I wanted to see how Sheeds. So I signed up with them, and I went over to a couple of games with them, but generally now I just kind of go on my own or with other lads that I know who are over there, you know. But I don't know where they are now. Don't know. Not too sure.
I'm sure they're wandering about somewhere. Look,
probably crying into their pints. Yeah.
We've got something in common there, Richie. many a match day we've been crying.
That's it.
It's Matt said earlier there. It is a really good run club. Everything, you know, it's real family affair like Arsenal, you know, and you know it just has something special about them, you know. I suppose moving on, lads. Aside from Arsenal, to I suppose end the show. In terms of the Republic of Ireland, I know it's completely off Arsenal. It looks like our qualifying hopes are all but gone. With the loss to France and Holland. Since you're on the show, Richie, do you think this is the end of the line for Stephen Kenny, or do you think he'll get the chance to see it out?
I think, like, if you're strictly going on a sort of a results-based business, which it is, it's more than finished, in my opinion. Like he wasn't expected to do anything against the French away. You know, I think even to keep it to 2 goals was actually quite respectable.
That's true. Yeah.
The Dutch game, you know, started off with promise again, and then you can just see it slowly fade, and the players just kind of, you know, sort of, I suppose, lose that sort of early initial kind of impetus, you know, to kind of get going and get around them. I always understood what Stephen Kenny was trying to do, and I think everybody did. They understand that, you know, and it is, you know, it's the right way to look at things, to nurture your young, and to sort of, you have to deal with the hand that you've been dealt, you know. But it's just too many losses, and it's taking far too long to see any kind of shoots of progress or any signs of hope. So yeah, I would think there's too much pressure now on the FAI as well. I think there's too many voices coming from everywhere that I don't think he'll survive. I don't know.
Yeah, I heard an ex-Toffee, one of yours actually, ex-Irish International League, Kersley's being tipped. As
Yeah, I heard like you know, he's done fantastically. I think he's with the
underage England.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
he's done
I think did he get them to a World Cup final or something, or he got them?
Won it in the summer, didn't they?
Yeah, they won it. Yeah, the Euros. Yeah.
The Euros, certainly. Yeah, you're right.
But when Carsley, just when he kind of just retired, like, you know, he'd gone around to a good few different clubs. You'd always see him there in the background, and he was very well thought of and respected, you know. Like, I mean, it could certainly be an option, but again, I think we have to sort of be cognizant of the fact that we don't have the players, and that's, you know, that's just a fact of life. It's, you know, it'll probably take a generation or two to kind of sort of get 3 or 4 really marquee players and build a team around them as such. Like, obviously you've got the people that you can point to, like Ferguson and all these kind of guys. But they also can't be the great white hope, you know, just on their own and having to carry a team. So, Lee Carsley would be a good shout. But yeah, unfortunately, I think ultimately it's probably curtains for Kenny.
Yeah, it's sad because he's brought in so many talented youngsters, hasn't he? That wouldn't have probably got a chance under other managerial lads that were in before him. John, do you think that's the end of the line for Stephen Kenny?
I think it's only a matter of time, but as you said, he has blooded a hell of a lot of young players. I think there's some talent there. And I think, as I say, if Lee Carsley, I think he's everyone's first choice if we were lucky to get him to replace Stephen Kenny, and let's be honest, he hasn't done yet. I think Carsley could reap the benefit of the fact all these young players have got a good bit of international experience now.
Yeah.
What I don't like about it is a lot of people using Stephen Kenny's failure, difficulties as the national manager to beat the League of Ireland. It's like, you know, using that as a stick. I don't like that at all. No, I think the League of Ireland needs a little bit more respect and a bit more investment. And I think he's done the best he could with what he's been given, which is just a hell of a lot of young players and a lot of players who have passed their prime.
Yeah.
So, as I said, whoever comes in, I think in a couple of years' time, we see that team develop into something, and a lot of that will be down to the fact Stephen Kenny gave them that chance. He gave them that chance on under 21 level, and he gave them that chance on national level. So I'm not here to beat a stick with Stephen Kenny. I have no issue with Stephen Kenny at all. As Ricky said, he's tried to play football in a progressive manner, not just hoop along to get the ball on the deck and progress the ball in the back, with a lot of young players who are not playing at the highest level in England, which is not easy. And I admire him for sticking to his guns and having these principles that way. But it probably is time to get maybe a fresh face, fresh ideas. But I do think the next guy will reap the benefit of all the work Stephen Kenny's put in.
Yeah, I feel sorry for him before I move on to you, Matt, as well, for your opinion. Every interview Stephen Kenny seems to have done post-match is like nearly defining lane in the coffin, It's always questioning his ability. And in terms of the last two championships that we qualified for in 2012 and 16, there was Premier League players of quality, O'Neill and Trapattoni they were in the fortunate position that there was the players there. I think Kenny probably has had the worst roll of the dice, you could say, in terms of players. They're not up to, there's very few even in the Premier League, aside from Coleman and obviously Ferguson emerging. Do you think yourself, Matt, do you think this is the end, probably the last qualifying tournament for Stephen Kenny?
Without a doubt. Listen, I'll be the first to say I hate international football simply because it messes with our Arsenal.
Yeah.
So it bothers me that it's even an international break right now. But there you go. Look, I did watch the game the other night. There is a lot of decent young players there. But are they international level players? Not one of them would get into any of the other teams at all. We're dredging the depths of. You're seeing the Ireland squad named and you're going, who the hell is he? Who is he? Who's he play for? And you find out he plays for Carlisle or somebody. You know what I mean? This is the thing. They don't have, back in Italian 90, you had players from the top teams in the Premier League playing for Ireland. I think we were ranked 8th in the world at one stage. We're never getting back there with these players, but there's nobody coming through. There's nobody there. I don't know if it's investment from the FAI into Irish football.
Well, sorry to interrupt you, Matt, but the FAI have a lot to answer for with regards to the development of the national team over the last 20 years, if not 30. And particularly one individual who shall remain nameless, but it's you hit the nail on the head there.
I know. But this is it. I mean, we're never going to progress if we're looking for players from the lower leagues like that. No. I don't know for whatever reason Charlton was able to, get the best of the best at the time. That we could. The development's not there. You see them players playing the other night against the Dutch, and where they show glimpses of, speed or being very good, and that they look very nervous when they got any opportunities. I think it was Adamida, not Adamida. Who was outside him? Was it
Benny?
Benny.
Yeah, Benny. Yeah, he had a couple of good opportunities, and he just fluffed his shots. It looked like he got stage fright when he had the opportunity, And I don't think that. I think that's as good as them players get, whether it be Stephen Kenny, Lee Carsley, anybody else. If they're not playing at the top level, they're never going to be top internationals. Evan Ferguson being the exception, he's been absolutely phenomenal for Brighton, and I think he'll ultimately end up at one of the top 4 teams. Brighton could be one of them top 4 teams. The way they're going, they're absolutely, a superb team to watch. They seem to rebuild constantly, and for some reason, they just keep getting these fantastic players through their ranks. It's absolutely brilliant scouting or something. But they should maybe take on the Brighton scout to try to find a few people with Irish grandparents or something, because they need that type of development if they're going to compete at all. I can't see Ireland qualifying for the next 10 Euros or World Cups the way things are. They're not going to do one player with Evan Ferguson. They're certainly not going to do it with having players playing for them from Wrexham. It's just not going to happen. But look, Kenny will probably lose his job. Carsley will probably come in, and he has the same poison chalice. That's just the way it is at the moment, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's only
so frustrating, Deirdre.
Copyright laws there,
And on that note,
I have to say that's definitely worth another guest appearance, Richie. So frustrating. It's been a busy show, lads. Is there anything else football-wise you like mentioned or anything?
No, I don't think we've said enough.
I think we're good. Yeah.
I'd just like to say, as always, you can catch our show on the Dublin Ursel YouTube channel as always. Spotify, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook as always. Thanks to Martin Stumble for editing as always. Check out our sister show, Beyond the Last Man. Fingers crossed, lads, it will happen. We're getting closer. Sadly, we're out of the Champions League, but the Women's Super League is starting soon. Check out our sponsor, Bannon Sports Direct, as always. Thanks very much. Check out our friends at trustarsenal.com. Pat McLaughlin, thanks very much. And of course, throughout this season, you can catch us in the official supporters bar in Dublin City Centre, the River Bar. So thanks to them for having us every match day. Just like to thank John Mealy and Matt Bourne for coming on tonight. Thanks very much, lads.
Cheers,
to our loyal Dublin Ursel YouTube fan and loyal Everton fan, Richie White, thanks very much for coming on.
Thanks for having me, lads.
It's been a
Thanks
pleasure.
a lot, Richie. Fair play to you.
Cheers, lads.
Of course, on next week's show, we'll be reviewing our hopefully Everton success. Sorry, Richie. And Richie will be listening to that, crying over a beer Moretti. And we'll be previewing the North London Derby, and we hope to have an unfortunate Spurs fan to join us. So until then, join us next week, and have a good week, lads. Thanks for joining me.
Cheers, lads.
Cheers, guys. Thanks a million.
Up the toffees.
Easy, lads.